Hey guys, welcome back to Sideline Thoughts. I'm John Greenstein here with Gio Galvez. No David Reyes today, unfortunately. There's no reason why he called out today. We don't know, but hopefully he'll be back next week. I know his Chargers had a rough day offensively, but his defense came up clutch. Like 6-0 was that score, man. Like for the football game, bro, like that is pathetic. Who'd want to watch a game at 6-0?
Well, it's almost like when you play the Patriots, your offense kind of just almost does
It wets
nothing.
the
We saw
bed.
that. Yeah, we saw that when the Colts played the Patriots in Germany, only scoring 10 points. I thought the Chargers would have been good enough to score at least 10 points, but they were unable to. And we see now that you could say it's the Patriots defense that are limiting teams to barely hitting double digit points. However, that may be with the 10 or 14 or 13 or however it is. But the clearly shows that the Patriots offense is the issue here. And in this game, the Chargers defense still had to step up in order to keep the Chargers to win the game, and in order to allow the Chargers to win the game because the offense was very, very bad. Um, it it almost seemed like nothing was going right for them. If looking at it, but being able to only get two field goals, it's a clear problem that the offense. mm, It, it's clear that it's on Brandon Staley that there. I don't want to say there's no game plan, but it looks like they just can't find a play in which they could get into the end zone. Whether it's running it, whether it's passing, there's nothing apparently. Like that's how he makes it look that there's nothing that they could do to find the end zone. There was not this one play, the breakup play, no crazy run by Eckler, no, no catch, no route run by Keenan Allen that could have got him into the end zone. Which we know it is possible because we've seen the Chargers play. We've seen how they won games where Austin Eckler's making at least 20, 30 yard runs right early in the season, or we see Keenan Allen making an amazing catch which moves him up the field and gets a touchdown later on that drive. So why does it seem like the Chargers are moving back down? And that, cause to me, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, they look awful,
Playing
bro.
playing a Patriots team that in my opinion, they should have scored a touchdown on, at least one touchdown, and unable to score a touchdown. It's not good. It doesn't look good for the future offense of the Chargers, even though they got the win. And that's the worst part. You tell me you scored 6 points and you got the win. I don't know how Chargers fans would want it, but I would assume that tells me the coach isn't good, and I would want the coach out because I would have wanted to lose a game in which got that problem out.
Well, I think the Chargers are like pissed they won that game because now Brand Staley is going to remain another game as a head coach. Just because I feel like if they had lost to the Patriots 6-0 the other way, I think Staley would have gotten fired.
Mhm.
That's my opinion on that. Like literally, like I know Belichick's not getting fired till the end of the season, obviously, or let go, I should say. But Staley, man, like gotta get his garbage together. He's not doing anything at all. Like he's just being pure cheeks. It's plain and simple right there. I could ask 10 different Chargers fans and they'll tell me that straight up that, hey, we need to get Belichick. Hey, we need to get freaking, what's his name?
John
Sean
Harbaugh,
Payton. Jim Harbaugh. Sean
Jim
Payton.
Harbaugh, sorry, not John, Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens at that front when the offseason hits. Still, we got 5 weeks left in the NFL, so. Or no, four. Sorry. Yeah, 4 weeks left in the
4 weeks, yeah,
NFL.
4 weeks left.
So we're at the final stretch here. But yeah, I mean, the Chargers are a doom and gloom team right now. They're not, nothing's looking good for them in the next 4 weeks, even though they have a pretty much cakewalk of a schedule. They play the Broncos. I mean, the Broncos aren't bad. Speaking of Broncos, they finally lost to the Texans, like we predicted. Me and Gio, we both thought the Texans were going to beat the Broncos, and Russ finally threw 2 interceptions that game, man. Like, he was perfect with the ball just because they didn't make him throw it as much, but I guess he wasn't as clear cut this game, obviously. So
No, I think
he's
it's go ahead. Sorry.
no. I was just gonna say he's just got to be a little more careful. Like they got to run the ball a little more, I guess.
It's not just that. I think a lot of people are underestimating the Texans, even when we see how they've been playing, and they look back at it, and yeah, they see the tape. Obviously, every team has tape, and they're looking at it, and they're like, okay, this and that, and you prepare for it. But I think during the game, you think, they're still a young team. Offensively, they're still a very young team. Defensively, they have their their pieces, but you wouldn't have thought that they would be able to put the pressure on Russ like they did, be able to make them have to throw the ball quick because, like I said, they're rushing him, making the pocket collapse in a way. So it's like he has to get the ball a lot quicker than his normal cadence. Get the play. Hopefully, the players, the wide receivers, or the tight ends, or whoever, if the running back, blocked him and rolled out, kind of like a roll out in basketball, pick and roll in basketball. Um, the pass goes on. However, at least in my opinion, the Texans have done a really good job. CJ Stroud has done an amazing job just leading this team into a possibility of being in the playoffs.
But they lost
Right? So
Tank Dell yesterday,
yes, they
unfortunately.
lost him down, and for some reason I don't know why he was in that pile. He shouldn't have been set right there, but they lost. He's down for the season, so Nico Collins is now the wide receiver one, getting or should be getting all the targets and stuff. I believe CJ Stroud got a little banged up. I believe I could be wrong on this one.
I think he's okay. He just, like
Yeah,
you
I
said,
think
he
he's
got
okay.
banged up a little bit. He's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. So you could expect him to come back or not, depending how they evaluate him. But I think they're doing a very very good job. And like we saw, the Tank Dell injury happened early in the game, so they went the entire game without him, and they were still able to pull off the win. But the entirety, like your point, is they ended Broncos' streak. That's entirely on the defense as well. Be
Yeah,
able to put that pressure on them to get Russ to throw two interceptions. And like you said, they chose not to run the ball, looking at how this defense is, and they still were able to. I wouldn't say greatly contain, but they were still able to do something against the passing game. So props to them. Texans still fighting for a spot in the playoffs, in the wild card.
I think they'll make it. I think they have a good shot.
I kind of hope they do. I really
Yeah,
hope they do. I think it'd be great to see them how they do in the playoffs, especially with the see how CJ Stroud takes on the challenge of being a rookie in the playoffs, taking the team. Because the last time they went was with Deshaun Watson and D Hop were on the team.
yeah. I don't want to see the Colts make the playoffs, to be honest, because they're not going to go anywhere. I know they beat the Titans this week, but like, who cares? Like, they're not going to be a good team in the playoffs. They'll just get wiped by the Ravens or what is it, Dolphins? Yeah, Dolphins or Ravens will beat the
Dolphins, yeah, whoever they
hell
play,
out
and
of them. Yeah, because the Chiefs, I don't see them getting the 2 seed anymore after losing to your Packers, man. Like the Chiefs look bad. Like your Packers defense, it looks really good right now.
and so the way I see it is that the Packers in the last three games started from when they beat the Chargers, they beat the Lions, and now they beat the Chiefs. They starting to find a groove. We got a lot of second strings playing right now. Valentine, I think Valentine played very well for the Packers at the safety corner.
Yeah,
I think he played very well. Defense overall, I think they did a nice job. I would say, I think they did a very nice job trying to. When it came to the passing game, they try to they were always at least two on their game there. I think the run game they did all right, stopping the run game. Of course you have Mahomes doing some plays like always. The way to contain Mahomes is very hard. So I think they did their best and on what they could do, especially getting that interception at the end of the towards the end of the game, the last 4 minutes of the game. I believe because there was still time. They still went back and kicked a field goal at the end of that to add to the lead to 8. But in my opinion, I think when the Packers defense allowed the passes to get off, which they're able to do. There was certain times where even Travis Kelce was wide open and Mahomes got on the ball, and that was the breakdown on the defense. Of course, there's always going to be breakdowns, but in my opinion, they were able to stay on a the ones that kind of mattered on certain plays on wide receiver screens and others and other plays like that where Pacheco was getting or McKinnon was getting the short passes, the check down passes, and to continue to go. I do say though, I do want to say that I think it was a passing interference on the last drive for the
Yeah,
Chiefs, where Mahomes chucked it up to Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I
he
think
held
it
him
was a passing
down.
interference. Yeah, he held. I think, and he jumped pretty much on top of him before the ball. I think it was a passing interference. I think it should have been called. Who knows how it would have changed the game because the Chiefs would have had to gone for two in order to tie the game. So who knows? Like everything happens. Who knows what the results would have been at the end. But I think it should have been called as a flag. It was a clear. It looked like a clear flag.
Yeah,
On the offensive side, the Chiefs. So on the Packers offense, they're facing a Chiefs defense that I saw in the beginning of the season. I think a lot of people saw that they were better than what people thought. They were surpassing the expectations of what people thought the Chiefs defense was. They're doing very good in the beginning, and I think they've kind of leveled out throughout the season. And right now we're seeing them where they're kind of going on a little downward loop, and they're playing teams like the Packers that should have been a win for the Chiefs. And I thought the Chiefs were gonna win. The Packers are starting to look much better. Christian Watson looked great. I believe
he had a huge touchdown
he
catch.
had
It
he had
was
two touchdowns. Yeah, but he had two touchdowns. I thought I thought he had at least 9 to 10 catches in the
he
game.
had nine
He had nine
catches.
to ten catches in the game. I think he did really good. I think Jordan Love is doing a much better job finding his receivers on time and sometimes quicker than the wild he used to take and he used to get sacked or have to throw the ball out. He's finding Christian Watson and having Christian Watson available has been a great add to the team, but also still being able to use Jaden Reed and Romeo Dobbs, even still being able to get them the ball out and Tucker Craft. Tucker Craft also he had the first touchdown. Get him involved. We have two rookie tight ends. Musgrave is out, but Tucker Craft is now stepping up, getting the touches. So I think he's done a really great job. And Jordan Love just becoming a lot, I guess,
Smarter.
smarter and better
Yeah,
and playing than he did in the beginning of the season. So I think it was nice, and especially against the Kansas City Chiefs defense that I think could have could have really given him a problem, and he could have done bad. He could have struggled.
hmm
I think he took it in and did best what they could because throughout the entire game, the Packers really only had seven drives, two punts, three touchdowns, and two field goals. So I think he did really good. Jordan Love, I mean, he completed 25 out of 36 passes for 267 yards, the three touchdowns. Right, the run game wasn't that bad. AJ Dillon, 18 attempts for 73 yards. It's not. It wasn't. It's not set in stone of how strong the run game is, but it still looks good. It still looks really good. On the Kansas City side, like I said, I think they did a pretty solid job trying to run it. Of course, you can't stop them all the time. It allowed Pacheco 110 yards with one touchdown.
but he got ejected when it mattered most. I don't know if you saw that in the last minute. Isaiah
Yeah,
Pacheco.
he did. But aside from the one main running back, right? You got Kadarius Toney and CHS Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They were only used twice, at least in the run game. They only ran for 6 yards. So other than that, yes, contain Pacheco is a bit hard, especially on some of these. I think they did fairly well. Like I said, Mahomes went 21 for 33, 210, one touchdown, one interception. And pretty much the game was given to the Packers because of the one interception.
Yeah,
Pretty much because even though the Chiefs had still the last drive to come and tie it, if it wasn't for that interception, the score would have been different.
I think it would have gone into overtime. The game. That was my guess. It was going to be like 22-22, something like that, or 24-24.
Yeah.
I was thinking somewhere in that range. Like that's what was going to happen. But obviously, the Packers just led the whole game and they didn't look back. But yeah,
Yeah.
they're looking good. I think they might make the playoffs, man. The way they're looking. They got the Bears and Vikings coming up too. The last two games of the year, I think it is. Those are going to be
Yeah,
wins.
Bears is the last game of the year. Vikings,
I think it's the
it's
week
not.
before that.
It might be because right now, this week they're playing the Giants this
Dub.
week.
See, they got 3
Yeah.
dubs right there. Bears, Vikings, Giants.
Who
Well,
knows?
Vikings
Because
isn't guaranteed, but I'm saying
but yeah,
they could win 3 games. It's doable,
yeah.
and they'll be in.
Looking they're playing, it is very doable.
That'll be good enough to get them in because they'll be like 10-7 or 9-8 at the worst.
Well, right now they're 6-6, and they're sitting at the seventh seed. Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe they're in the seventh seed.
but they could take
So
the 6th seed easily.
yeah, 3 more wins, give them what 9? It's what 9-8. I
Yeah,
think
I
that would
say
give them
9-8 or
7
10
seed.
7 at the best.
Yeah, 10. That would give them 6, 7 seed if it hits that.
But then they'd
So
have to
I
play the Lions or the what was it? Yeah, probably the Lions because yeah, the Lions would be the 3 seed if they played 6. But if they're number
if they play,
2, they got to play Niners or Eagles, and that
well,
that
right
would be
now it's
tough.
Niners. Yeah, right now it's Niners.
You don't want to play them.
Um, yeah. If they get fifth, they play that. If they get seventh, they play the
7th would be the worst scenario. You want to play the
yeah,
Lions the first round if you make the
no, because
playoffs.
no, seventh you play the
Philly or the Niners.
oh, sorry, so fifth, sorry, my bad, fifth.
Fifth,
If somehow they're
Dallas.
able to get
Dallas
fifth,
is gonna be fifth.
that's right, I forgot about
Yeah,
Dallas.
you're not catching Dallas, dude. They're like
Yeah,
4 games up on you guys.
and then Dallas, because right now it said that Dallas would be playing Atlanta.
Yeah, and that's gonna be just easy
Yeah,
dub.
so yeah, it's either Lions. So I rather have them play the Lions. We have a better,
Yeah, because you've
Packers have a
already
better
beaten the
shot
Lions this
winning the
year.
Lions. Yeah, we also lost to them, so obviously I think Lions are going to be favored in it, but there's still a better chance than when playing the Eagles or the Niners. However, that ends up at the end of the season.
Yeah, no matter how the Eagles played against the Niners this past week, like you still don't want to play them. They have a great team. You
Exactly,
can't deny that.
exactly. So Packers are gonna have to find a way if they're able to control where in the standings they go. Also depends on how the Vikings do, because the Vikings are the ones in sixth
They just
right
have to
now.
beat the Vikings and they'll be okay. If they can win out and beat the Vikings, they'll
But
take the 6th seed.
but also as the Vikings start winning, then the Packers can't lose any games and would have to
That's why I
lose
said
to
they have
be
to
to
win
be
out.
yeah, they would have to win out.
But it's
Um,
doable for what their schedule is because they don't have a tough schedule.
yeah,
It's like I said, the Vikings are probably the toughest game left. But yeah,
but
I
we
mean,
got
sorry, what'd you say?
no. I was gonna say, and, after talking about my team, we got other games going on, and one of them was your Seahawks. A
Well, it
very
was
very close
predictable,
game.
bro. I was predicting they were gonna
Predictable.
lose.
You predicted that the Seahawks were gonna
They
go
don't
on like this
have
with
Geno
DK having
Smith is
three
not
touchdowns.
clutch. He is not clutch.
I know. I'm not saying he is, but I'm saying you're telling me that you predicted DK was gonna go for 3 touchdowns.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying
Seahawks were
when
close
they were
by.
when they were close, I knew they weren't gonna win. I'm like, because they have Geno Smith as their quarterback. I think if they had Russell
But he
Wilson,
played
they would
very
have had a
well
better
in it.
shot.
He played very well. I
Yes,
think
three
what happened
quarters he
at the
played
end of it
great.
was just I think the Seahawks at the end of it died down. It was
Well,
too much to be able to handle that Chargers offense. I mean, Chargers that Cowboys offense at the end.
I mean,
Unfortunately,
Cowboys are a better team, but Seattle played right there with them the whole way.
the whole
Seattle's
way.
2 years away still from being a great team. They need a quarterback to draft.
You need a well-established quarterback
Yeah, we need something like Josh Allen to hop on the Seattle bandwagon there.
or Justin Herbert.
Yeah. If we get any of those two, Super Bowl or bust. Because they have a decent defense. It's just they weren't giving them a shot yesterday because they would score so fast. Like his DK Metcalf got like a 60-yard pass on that Thursday night game. And then, we got to go back to defense. So, like, the Cowboys got so many drives, which led to them scoring so many points, obviously. Like, they had 40 points, 41 points. So, like, I think they had like 12 or 13 drives. It
Yeah,
was a crap ton. Lightly saying that. But I think Dallas is going to lose to Philly this week.
I think so too.
Philly's going to come
I
out raging because they got blown out by the Niners. I don't know if you watched that game, but
yeah.
Niners are the best team in the NFL right now. Like They, without question, nobody is even close. They're like lengths apart. Like this is the Eagles, this is the Niners.
I don't think it's that far apart.
That's
I
how
don't
I
think
feel
it's that
right
far.
now.
It's not that far apart.
Well, it's a weekly prediction. Like I think in the playoffs they'll make it a more contending game. Like it'll be a lot more closer and tight. But obviously, after what we saw yesterday, that's how it was. The scales were tipped.
See, I think well on Sunday we saw on Sunday, but yes, I think the Niners are the better team in the NFL. Like they're probably the best team in the NFL, but I don't think it's that far. I think Eagles are right here with them.
And it's the
And
Ravens right underneath them.
you could argue Ravens, you could argue, you know, Chief Cowboys, you could argue whoever,
Uh,
you could add whoever you want under it. But the main point of it is that it's the Niners and the Eagles close by. Eagles didn't have a great game. They didn't. They didn't
they
have a
couldn't
great
run
game
the ball.
offensively.
They had terrible
They
running ball.
couldn't run the ball at all, right? How do you run the ball when you have Bosa and Chase Young and these other linemen that are known for being able to one pass rush, right, and two being able to contain this run. And in my opinion, the Eagles this season hasn't been able to consistently establish a really strong run game. Some games the run is amazing.
Oh,
Other
DeAndre
games
Swift is amazing usually.
like we saw, yeah, but like we saw, it struggles, right? It's not consistent. It's not consistent strong way. So you had to go to the passing game, and I don't think the Eagles have been able to utilize the passing game as much as they should, like they did last season.
Yeah.
I think with the loss of their offensive coordinator, leaving, and I think a lot of times they use a lot of wide receiver screen plays, check like throw it down, get it out. I think they need to be able to, and they saw what was working, especially in that first quarter, even though they only got field goals, but what was working throwing it to Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, giving them, letting them do some dig routes, some slants, something to get some curls, something to get the ball going, getting yards out. I think something that is able to get 10, not or maybe 5 plus yards if you need to do a check down, but 10 plus yards. I think the Eagles need to do that a lot more.
Yeah, they need more, a little more of short slants. They don't need to be throwing the ball downfield constantly because then obviously it's predictable. They're gonna
Well,
have
what's
more
down the field to
turnovers,
you?
like
What's
40
considered down the field to
yards,
you? 40,
30,
yeah,
40
I'm not saying
yards.
that, but they could throw it 15 yards.
But yeah, like short audibles, like or like
Well, to be short, it's like 5 yards. So that's what I'm asking.
I'd say
Because
5
to
to
me,
15 yards is short for me.
okay, so to me, I think they should at least have in every set of downs, at least try to get one 10 to 20 yard pass in. Or maybe even, yeah, at least try to get one if your run game is solid. If your run game isn't as consistent, I'd say get two in my opinion.
Okay.
Or you could do, however it's going, 1 10 to 20 a run game, and then 1 5 yard, check down if it's like 35 or whatever the situation is. Um, but that was my opinion. I don't think it's because the Niners were crazy, crazy good. I think it's the Eagles also had a bad game, aside from the Niners playing very good. But that's why I don't think it's this far. I think it's close. That's why I think it's close. Of course, the Niners on their end, amazing overall. The first quarter was very bad. The first two drives of the quarter were bad, and one they didn't get Christian McCaffrey the ball. They literally just tried to get in the ball by a pass, or try passing it down to him.
I need him to
And get
pass
him.
it more because my fantasy got destroyed because of him. CMC.
Well, that has nothing to do with
I'm
that.
just saying, I was
I know I
mad.
have CMC too, and but I have CMC, so it helped. But that's not the point. The point is that
I get it.
the Niners, I think they should establish the run game early, and you saw at least it looked as forcing the pass early wasn't gonna work, and it didn't help that on that first drive. He
No.
got sacked on the second down, right, to move it down, and then that third it didn't, the third didn't add, it didn't work out, and then the second drive to get the new set down. I mean, the second drive to do, it's the same thing. It's the same. They try to force the pass. It wasn't working out. That's why once they started getting to the second quarter, they started running the ball. That allowed them to pass the ball even more. So they were able to get the ball out to Debo even more, get the ball out to Ayuk even more. Even Kittle got had some.
But yeah, I mean, Kittle got a lot of passes, but not
Yeah, I
enough
mean
late in the game.
Kittle. No, he had some in the second quarter. I know he in the entire game he had two 30-yard catches.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
need like I'm saying like he probably would have got like 10 catches if CMC didn't dominate the ball constantly.
yeah, but that was the point that they needed to get CMC to do that in order to open up the passing because if they weren't going to run the ball, all you have to worry is about the passing game. And the Eagles have the defense to be able to contain the passing game.
Yeah, I know they have good corners. Darius Slay
Exactly.
is
So
really good.
so that's why they needed. That's what I'm saying. In that first quarter, they needed to establish the run first, get that going, and then that's when you start getting into Debo, getting into Ayuk, getting into Kittle. Have Eli Mitchell or Chris McCaffrey. Kind of like pick and roll, block and roll. Check it down right there. Open and give options to Purdy. So that's what I'm saying. And they Kyle Shanahan finally said, all right, let's do that in the second quarter, and they did that the entirety of the game. And you see all these, see these plays go out. Chris McCaffrey with long runs. I think his longest was 11, 15-yard run. I believe that was
Hmm.
his longest. And I mean, like we said, Kittle with two 30-yard catches, Ayuk, you know, with Debo, and then all these other games. It just overall they played very well. The 49ers, they did very good. They came in, even being down, even having that first quarter have no points, they were still able to come back and get it. Because in my opinion, I thought with that first quarter getting no points, not even a field goal, it was almost gonna be a game. I thought Eagles were gonna win it in that scenario, but they came back and Eagles just couldn't do much when it came to getting to the end zone. I mean, their first touchdown was a tush push,
Yeah,
so they
literally
were
just
able to get
shoved it
down.
in there.
Yeah, so Eagles, tough, but next week is a divisional game, very important. They win that, they win the division, right? So they automatically get a top four, even though they
I
already have it
think
right now.
I think if Philly wins that, they'll get the 1 seed because I don't see them losing any other game. I mean, they'll beat Seattle, they'll beat all those other teams. Philly's good for wins on the year. They're winning out. I think
But
there's just no way. I mean, I don't see them losing a game.
no, yeah, I get you. But I'm just saying they've only one win, essentially one win. They're only one win ahead of the 49ers.
And I see
So
both teams winning out.
okay, so you see both teams in the I mean, looking at the schedule,
Well, the Eagles
just
play the Cowboys, the Seahawks. They played the Giants 2 more times. Those are easy dubs right there. And then Niners play Seattle this week. And then they play the Rams as well. I mean, I don't
play the
know.
Cardinals and then the Ravens. So the Ravens is the only issue you could say for the
I
49ers.
say the Eagles still get the 1 seed. Like, there's nobody that's really going to put up a fight.
Yeah, the Cowboys are the only ones to. So Niners would need the Cowboys to win if they want
I
to get that
know
once. They would need the Cowboys to win.
because they beat the Cowboys, so they would get the 1 seed.
Hmm.
So they have the tiebreaker between those two teams. But yeah, like the only way the Eagles lose is in the next 2 games. That's the only chance. But I don't see them losing either game, so they're winning out because they got the Cardinals and the Giants twice. That's just such an easy schedule.
Yeah, very very easy. But who knows? The Steelers lost to the Cardinals.
Well, yeah,
Kenny
because
Pickett,
they didn't
yeah,
have
Mitch
Kenny Pickett.
Trubisky. I mean, but not because of that. Even with Pickett, they were still not doing a lot throughout the
Do you
game.
think
But
the Steelers are going to beat the Patriots this week?
yes, yes, I do think so. Yeah, you could say like it might be like another
It's going
six
to be
zero,
three to
six
six
zero,
score. Three to 6.
3-6, whatever it is. I think the Steelers are gonna win. But they struggled against the Cardinals. They couldn't get a lot much going. and the Cardinals were found their groove. They were able to go and score these score actually score. So it's looking tough for the Steelers.
What about for
And
the
finding Matt Canada, you would think it'd be a much better being able to get your receivers out. Having Warren and Harris having to get the run game going. I would have thought against this Cardinals defense that the run defense has been terrible. I thought that would have been the set in stone and getting at least a touchdown or two by both Harris and Warren. And it didn't work out for the Steelers. It didn't go out as it should have. So I think Steelers would have to figure out, as much as the Patriots suck. This is the truth. As much as the Patriots suck, you can't go in there like, okay, yeah, we're gonna get this win. Go no, like, because this game is still important. Like that's the sad thing to say. Losing to Arizona made having to win the Patriots game like it's a must win. I'm not saying they can't win, but it's one of those, in my opinion, that it should be a must win.
Well, yeah, you can't lose to a Patriots team like this. That's no way
You
you
can't,
should
but
lose.
for the Steelers also
Well, yeah,
having
it's
any,
possible.
because they're in the playoffs right now. They're in the playoffs. So in
Yeah.
order to keep that in the playoff seed, keep that seed in the playoffs, it's a must win against the Patriots.
Well, yeah, the Steelers have a little tougher schedule than most people. They actually have a very tough schedule. They
Yeah, they
finish
have a
off
very hard
with the
schedule.
Colts, Bengals, Seahawks, and Ravens. They're not making the playoffs, the Steelers. They're going to be one that's going to be left out. I think
I think
Texans will overtake them. That's my guess.
that's a possibility.
Because the Texans, they finish off with the Jets, Titans, Browns, Titans, Colts. Easy schedule.
It's a much easier schedule. Yeah. The because Steelers have the fifth seed.
Yeah, they're going to lose that, man. So
They're
are the
fifth.
Browns. The Browns aren't making the playoffs either.
Yeah,
Because the
the
Browns
offense.
play,
Well,
play the
Joe Flacco's at
Jags.
least there.
So the Browns play the Jags. I mean, they'll beat the Bears, but they're going to lose to the Texans. Actually, you know what? They play the Jets and the Bengals too, so they have a shot, but not a high shot in my opinion.
It's all the pieces are falling now that we're seeing which ones are gonna last, who's gonna last, who's gonna make the last push. It's all starting to come down.
I'm thinking it's going to be Indy and Houston and Denver. That's going to make it as the three wild cards because I don't see Buffalo making it. I'm sorry. They played the Chiefs this week. Then they play the Cowboys. Then they finish off the season with the Dolphins. But they get to play the Patriots and the Chargers for 2 games. But then again, they lost to the Patriots earlier in the year, so you can't put anything past them.
I agree. It sounds like there's a good possibility that the Bills don't make it, and it's all to their own fault, in my opinion. Too many turnovers, not able to score in certain red zones, unable to close out games. So sucks, especially with the Bills are very favored in the division,
Yeah.
having Josh Allen and stuff like that. Now they have an actual competitor in the Miami Dolphins, who are now the favorites, right, in the division. But the Bills were, prior to this, the Bills were the favorites. The Dolphins are now the favorites of it. Like you, you can't blame injuries on the Bills, in my opinion. Sure, you could say I'm Milano and I believe High was also, yeah, you could argue, but how does that give the issue to the offense not being able to score, not being able to close out games?
It's Josh Allen or bust. That's how it's been.
That is how it's been, and I like Josh Allen. Don't get me wrong, I like Josh Allen, but he turns the ball over too much. He
Yeah, he
fumbles the
tries to be
ball
too
too much.
aggressive sometimes.
Dude, sometimes he throws the ball too hard to his players that they're unable to catch, and sometimes it bounces up and leads to interception. Like you just have to place it sometimes, right? Sometimes you just have to place it, and he throws it crazy hard, and it's like, dude, it's causing a little some of you know, these incomplete passes,
Yeah, because
right?
these guys, I mean, they're wearing gloves, but like some of them can't have reaction time, and they don't have enough reaction time to catch it.
And not just that, it's in my opinion, Josh Allen sometimes he's throwing like it's either overthrown or like a tough double coverage, or he's trying to thread it in through the middle when it's like, dude, try to find something else, or there's
Yeah,
nothing.
he tries
Run.
to make things happen.
He used to like to run a lot more before than what I at least I've seen this season so far.
Well, he ran a lot against the Eagles. He got a couple of rushing touchdowns that last week. So like he
They
did.
played very well that game, and again, but that's to the point, unable to close out the game,
Yeah,
unable to close it out. So, I mean, in my opinion, kind of the Bills deserve to not be in the playoffs
they're not gonna
because
make it.
now the AFC isn't that you don't look at the AFC and think, oh yeah, these teams are gonna make it like for sure before the season starts.
I feel
You know,
like the balance has changed between AFC being stronger and NFC being stronger. I feel like NFC is above AFC right now for sure because you got the Eagles and Niners and the Cowboys as the three legend football teams right now, and then you just got the Ravens and Dolphins, and the Chiefs are just hanging in there. So it's like if you compare the three teams from both conferences, the NFC is definitely stronger right now.
no, I agree. I'm just saying before it was always like, all right, who's making playoffs this year? It's gonna be Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, you know, who's the fourth one? The Titans, right? Because Derrick Henry and all this,
Yeah,
then you had who's the other ones? The Steelers and
Chargers,
Browns, or the Chargers, or it was the Dolphins or the Ravens. All right, you have like the Ravens going through like
Bengals.
it was always like, oh, it's always like these four, and then who are the other three? These, and now it's like, dude, you don't know because you have the Colts in there.
Yeah,
Steelers are still somehow in there, right?
it's just
Chargers are
they've
not
had
in
an easy
there,
schedule. The Steelers, they've played nobody good.
but they also had hard schedules too.
Well, I know I'm saying though, like that's why they've got 7 wins. They squeak by the bad teams, like or the average teams.
Could say however, but that at least that's my point. And you know, kind of going on. We speaking about the Jags. They played yesterday. They
Yeah.
lost to a Burrow-less Bengals in a game that they were leading. They were
Mm-hmm.
tied. Actually, lead and tie. It was always lead and tie.
Terrible defense by the Jags. Jags couldn't
Yeah,
stop Joe Mixon all night. He literally was had a wide open carpool lane.
free
Yeah,
running all game, free running, and not only that, they allowed Browning to find his setting. He had two passing touchdowns, right? I believe he
yeah.
had two passing touchdowns.
And
Brown,
that pick wasn't his fault. That was the receiver's fault. It
the
came off the.
interception.
Yeah, he didn't. It wasn't his fault. He didn't
Yeah,
force that pick.
agree. But imagine you allowed a backup quarterback to find his setting. Like you said, it's bad defense on the Jags. He missed a field goal that would have given the lead. The Bengals came back, scored the field goal, take the lead. Jags went back, scored the field goal, tied it in overtime. That actually would have just been the game-winning field goal. Jags would have closed it out, but
Mm-hmm.
it didn't work out like you saw the game. It was overall tough, especially in the clutch because they needed Joe Burrow. I think they could have gotten a touchdown on one of these plays if Joe Burrow, sorry,
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence was in the
Yeah.
game. So Trevor Lawrence got hurt. He was the one who got stepped on. Who has the ankle sprain with the M. He has gained the MRI today. I think he could. They could have won if he stayed in.
Mm-hmm.
They could have, but at the same time, like we said, they could have won just if Magnus hit the field goal.
Yeah, I mean McManus had to make it, so like
Mm-hmm. If he hit the field goal, it would have. So that's a lot. It's tough for the Jags. I think I thought they should have won the game. I thought they should have won the game. It came down to the clutch again. Came down to the clutch. Couldn't finish it off. So it's tough, but like you said, Jags have the possibility of making the playoffs.
oh Jags will make the playoffs. They're
Well,
just
sorry. They're what 8-4 now? Yeah, they're 8-4
yeah,
because they
they'll
lost. Yeah,
make it, but
but
it
still.
might be a 4 seed now because they might not
Mhm.
have Lawrence next week.
So right now they're in the third. Right now they're in the third.
Yeah, they might fall though.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna guess. That's gonna happen. Well, actually, no, they're fourth because the Chiefs are third. So you got right now it's the Dolphins number one, Ravens number two, Chiefs three.
Mm,
Then you got number four, the
four
Jags.
Jags. Yeah. I mean, a game they should have won. Should have. I think that if they won, they would have been third.
Well, yeah, because they would have had a better record than the Chiefs because they don't have the tiebreaker against the Chiefs because they lost to the Chiefs earlier in the year.
Okay.
So the head-to-head
Well,
isn't there.
yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Well, that's some football.
Yeah, and you got the MVP talk coming up now. So like, I have for my top two picks for MVP, I got Brock Purdy number one, number two Lamar Jackson. Those two quarterbacks have been unreal this year. Like Brock Purdy had maybe two bad games, but like God, he's been deadly accurate. Like his passing percentage off the charts. But others say it's because of Gio's MVP. CMC is the reason why he's doing the best he can right now. Like he's making very accurate passes because he's not having any. He doesn't have a lot of pressure on him. Is what I'm trying to say. McCaffrey literally takes all that stress off Purdy, and he's like, "Oh, let me just hand the ball to CMC here. I don't have to do too much." That's the argument against him having MVP. But I still think he's done like the best. He's the best quarterback they've had since I don't know. I mean, I think he's better than Alex Smith and
Let's see, man.
Garoppolo and Kaepernick. He's a lot more accurate. Like his passes are just deadly accurate. I think he's right below Steve Young. Like he's probably like the best quarterback they've had since him. Not saying much. I mean, Lamar Jackson, bro, like he's literally carried that team. Like with all the injuries they've had, like he's just been the godsend for the Ravens. But that Ravens defense is legit too. They've really helped out Lamar this year. Like they lost Mark Andrews, J.K. Dobbins in the beginning of the year, but they have OBJ now, which helps. And they're just using Zay Flowers, the running back, Gus Edwards, I believe his name is. He's pretty good as well. So they have a lot of depth. So they'll be fine. They might honestly make it to the Super Bowl this year because of Lamar. And Lamar's never done that. So if he makes it to the Super Bowl this year, Lamar will actually might overtake Brock for MVP. But that's my argument for my MVP picks. So what about you, Gio?
So, well, for me, like you say, I think Christian McCaffrey should get the MVP because one, the MVP means all players, not just quarterbacks. And I hate how right now, if you look at the list, looking the MVP race, it's all quarterbacks. The top six. Look at it. It's Brock Purdy at one, Jalen Hurts at two, Dak Prescott at three, Tua at four, Lamar at five, and Mahomes at six.
Mahomes doesn't deserve MVP this year. I'm sorry. He just doesn't.
He hasn't had an MVP season. That's true.
Yeah.
But my point is, the MVP isn't. This is not just a quarterback award. Like usually,
Yeah.
yes, quarterbacks do win it, but the rules are not specifically quarterback. It's always open to other players. Obviously, other players have also got it. But this year, Christian McCaffrey to me has been the most valuable player, and you plug him into any team, and he is the most valuable player in any team. One, he's the best player in the Niners, so I don't know how Purdy gets put in the MVP conversation when Christian McCaffrey is the best player on the team. How do you win MVP of the league if you're not even the MVP of your team? But Christian McCaffrey himself, just looking here, what we got. Christian McCaffrey right now has, after this week's games, he has 210 carries with 12 rushing touchdowns, 1,032 total yards, averaging 4.5 yards per carry. He had a 17 game scoring streak where he scored at least one touchdown in 17 games, counting last year's playoffs games, right? So it's continued from last season to now. 17 games. His record got broken in week 10 against the it was the Jags, I believe. I wrote down the notes. It was against the Jags where they try to force him the touchdown in the last 2 minutes. They try to give him his play where he kind of lines up outside the line, runs up and goes out to the right side towards the sideline, which the quarterback, which was Sam Darnold during that play, throws it out to him. Supposed to, a little low catch, end zone. Didn't work on the last 2 minutes. They couldn't get it. Hit the record to break the record for 18 games. Ended right there. But aside from that, being able to score at least one touchdown every game, it's almost hard that any other player could do. But he's done it. Of course, your running back. Some of them were 1 yard touchdowns. I get that, but some of them weren't just 1 yard touchdowns. and he's had some games with multiple touchdowns. And in a team where we have other weapons like George Kittle, Debo, and Ayuk, and you have Jusic as the fullback, and and you have defensive star players. For you to come out and be able to do all these things, you are the best player on the team. And like we mentioned earlier, the way when they played against the Eagles, he helped open up the field. The offense started flowing once they allowed him to run the ball because we saw Purdy trying to throw the ball to try to get the ball to Ayuk and Debo Kittle at first, and it almost seemed kind of forced a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like kind of forced. So what you need to do, you give the ball to Kittle, allow now you have to get the Eagles defense to come and try to stop the run game that allows any one of those three to have the opportunity to give some space to be open to get the ball and allow Purdy to get the ball. And then you can use McCaffrey as a blocker or whatever we always say. I always say. And that's the thing about Christian McCaffrey. What other running back can give you that option? Now there's a lot like Derrick Henry. Yeah, you could say, okay, yeah, he'll put
I
them
don't
in
think they're
there.
even close, man. I think McCaffrey's so much better
No,
than
no,
Derrick
no.
Henry.
But I'm just saying, like you could argue, oh, Derrick Henry could kind of do the same if he was on the Niners team, right? You could
Mm.
argue other running backs could, but Christian McCaffrey is a set alone number one, right? And he he himself, the best part about him, what gives me the MVP, while taking away from some receivers, is that he doesn't need the quarterback to give him the ball. The ball could be hiked straight to him,
Or he could go
right? He could
downfield and
get,
catch a pass.
yeah,
Like,
he could, and getting to my point. This year we've seen that Christian McCaffrey, they're using him a lot. I want to say a lot more, but they're using him now in the passing game. Dude alone has 5 touchdowns. He has 62 total targets so far with 51 receptions of catches, right? He has 429 yards added. This is not part of the stats I said earlier about him with the 12 rushing touchdowns and 1,032 yards. No, he has a separate 429 catching yards with 51 catches. He has 5 catching touchdowns. So far in the season, he has 17 touchdowns, right? 5 of them catching. Just mind you, so now you have a running back that has 5 catching touchdowns. Now you're looking. Now a lot when you argue about the MVPs, you say, oh, you know, MVP, what they do, like they're ones that game changers for the teams. And yes, Christian McCaffrey is one of those that when he's in, the Niners are almost guaranteed to win. But so far this year, they have 3 losses, right?
yeah.
3 losses. The 3 losses. This is his stats in the 3 losses that he played. He's individual, not. There's not showing how it worked out the team because obviously they lost some by a field goal or what the situation was.
Mm.
Against the Browns, he had 11 carries for 43 yards, 3 catches for 9 yards, and 1 catching touchdown. A catching touchdown, not rushing, catching touchdown, right? That was the worst he did in one of the losses. Was only 1 touchdown against the Vikings in the loss. He had 15 carries, 49 yards for 15 carries, and 1 rushing touchdown, 3 catches for 51 yards, 1 catching touchdown, and a
Which
fumble.
is
He had a
good.
fumble. He had a fumble, but it is good. He has a minimum 3 catches. How many times he has a running back to really make these catches and get 51 yards on 3 catches and a touchdown on one of them? It's not a lot. Yes, you see a lot more. Like we see Gibbs, he's used as a wideout right now
You
for
want
the
to know
Lions.
the last running back that reminds me of McCaffrey? Do you remember James White from the Patriots, where Brady would have him always go downfield and just throw like a 30-yard pass? Like that's what it reminds me of because he would run the ball and then he would just throw the deep threat to James White, and James White would catch it all the time. Like that made Brady so legit back in the day. Like when he was in 2014, 2013. That's how he beat my Seahawks. Was like he had James White, he had all these receivers like that were so expendable that it was ridiculous. Like that's how CMC is to me. Like for Brock Purdy, like he's literally dynamic.
He's the emergency blank. He's a cover blanket.
Yeah, give him the
Yeah,
ball anytime you want. He's like, oh, I'm gonna get sacked. He's right there. Let me throw it to him.
yeah. It's always like I said. It's like a little pick and roll. He blocks or he just goes around and he's a check down right there. Sometimes it'll lead to a loss of yard or two, or McCaffrey could get a couple yards.
Yeah,
From it. Yeah. And John, just to point out, the third loss that they have, McCaffrey went with 12 carries, 54 yards, 1 rushing touchdown, 6 catches. Right, so the most catches in the loss for 64 yards and 1 touchdown. I believe he also had a
that's
fumble
good
there.
for
So
a bad running
In
back.
in the 3 games they lost, he scored 5 touchdowns. He scored 5. So you're telling me that's not your that's not the MVP of the league?
No, it
That's not the
definitely
player
is. Part
that shouldn't win the MVP. You're telling me that Brock Purdy, a player that's fit into and I'm one of those that I believe that Brock Purdy is a system quarterback. I do because I've seen him in Iowa State.
The only reason I said Brock Purdy is like what you were mentioning earlier. They don't have people that aren't quarterbacks win MVP. Like you have to have a quarterback to win MVP. Like they never choose non quarterbacks.
But
So
the
like
thing is,
obviously McCaffrey's a better player than Brock Purdy. There's no question about it. They don't play the same position, obviously, but freaking CMC does a way better job at his job than Brock Purdy does at his own job.
exactly. And like I was saying, I've seen Brock Purdy in Iowa State. He wasn't that great. He wasn't outstanding at all. There was a reason why he was the last pick. He wasn't outstanding. I remember seeing on one, and I always point out to this play. There was a play where he was in, I believe it was the 5 yard line, and Iowa State hike it. The tight end makes a block, runs out, opens. He's all alone. Brock Purdy. All you had to do was just float it in, and he overthrows it. And yes, it's just one play. We've seen quarterbacks make all these mistakes. Yes, but the Iowa State team wasn't good. Brock Purdy wasn't good. So to say that now, oh yeah, they're saying he has one of the best quarterback passer rating. He has, he's done things that that Montana and Dan Marino and Steve Young and all these other things. Like yeah, but and people are always arguing, oh, but um, Joe Montana had Jerry Rice and everything. He's like yeah, he had Jerry Rice, but then you're saying that I'm not saying that Jerry Rice isn't better than Debo and Ayuk and stuff. Like obviously he is, but you're telling me
Yeah.
that that one player is better than having three off catching weapons plus Christian McCaffrey. Like that's what that argument is saying. Purdy is a seasoned quarterback because if you put him in another team, he's not going to shine like the way he is.
No,
Not
he'll
like
be okay though. He won't be terrible. He'll be like
I,
middle of the pack quarterback.
I think I think I think Dobbs, the quarterback of the Vikings, would do so much better. He'd be such a way better quarterback, in my opinion, because we see him going from the Browns to the Cardinals, now to the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, he didn't play so good the previous week since they had to bye this week, but previous didn't play good against Broncos. But I think he's a much better quarterback, and if you put him on this Niner team, much better player. But again,
Yeah.
it's fitting the system. That's the thing. He's not a quarterback you could put in New Orleans and he'll ball out the same way. He's not a quarterback that you could put in Jacksonville
No, he's
or
not.
put him in Atlanta. You put him in Atlanta, he's going to be the same team. Or you put him in Indiana, he's going to be the same. No, he's not going to be the same player.
No, he's
That's why
not.
he's a quarterback. That's why CMC is better because we saw him in the Panthers and he was still the best player. You could put him on the Rams, you could put him on the Vikings, you could put him on the Cowboys, on the Texans, on
Put
the
him on any team,
Jets,
he'll be great.
any
Is
team,
what
and
you're
he'll still
saying.
be arguably the best player on there. So that's the thing. That's why I think MVP should be CMC, not just force on these quarterbacks who none of these quarterbacks has had an outstanding, amazing season. Not even Hurts, not even Lamar. In my opinion, they haven't. They haven't so far.
Okay, well that's your opinion,
And
but
my second person, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no. I was gonna let you go. Sorry.
Just my second person, I think should be in the conversation. Just in the conversation. I don't think he should win it, but be in the conversation. Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, he has 93 catches so far, 1,481 total yards. He's on route to have a 2,000-yard season. 12 catching touchdown, averaging about 15.9 yards per catch, right? In per game, right? Give or take.
Yeah.
You're telling me, arguably having the best wide receiver season this year so far, arguably. You could add other wide receivers and whatever. You're telling me he's not even in the conversation. You're telling me that these quarterbacks
I
are
don't
doing
think
more.
Tua should be in there.
I
Tua's
don't think
not
Tua
that
should be in there.
great.
Tua should not. Yes, Tyreek needs Tua to get him the ball. Don't get me wrong. I
But
understand that's the
Tua can
required
be
having
erratic.
wise. Exactly. Exactly. That's the tough part about having wide receivers because there's always going to be the argument, oh, but you need the quarterback. Yes, and I just used that about Debo and Ayuk. I use that. I understand that.
Yeah.
But looking at the stats, Tyreek is putting all these numbers up. And just looking at the eye test, the way he's playing, the way he is the reason why the Dolphins win some games, won
Hmm.
some of the games was because of Tyreek Hill. That's also needs to take to effect. You know, the you could argue Debo wasn't there and the Niners lost the 3 games. Yes, you could say that. But again, we don't know how Debo would play one night team. But we've seen how Tyreek's played on Chiefs. We've seen how he plays on the Dolphins. And Tyreek Hill's importance to the role to the team of the Dolphins has become much more. Tyreek Hill's role on the Dolphins has become much more important because he's been the game changer. He's their superstar. He's their best player. So that's why he should be at least in that conversation, other than Tua, other than my opinion, more than Lamar Jackson, because Lamar Jackson has had some very tough games, very bad games, where he doesn't reach expectations in these games.
Of course.
And so,
But
in my opinion, those are at least my two that I think should be in there. Christian McCaffrey should win it.
I think you have a legitimate argument. I mean, if it wasn't about a quarterback league, those two would win it like in a heartbeat. Like at least McCaffrey would, and Tyreek would be a narrow second. But yeah, I mean, there's our MVP picks, guys. So you can see what we were talking about, and yeah, we're talking about some college football now. I saw Florida State got snubbed, but there's a reason why the committee did it. Unfortunately, they didn't have a quarterback. He got hurt for the season. He's out, and a lot of their games are super close. Like they're narrow against average teams. They had 2 good wins.
They have four.
Uh, I say
Four.
2.
They have four positive wins. They've beaten 4 teams that have gone positive overall record, and that are in the ACC, and they beat a fifth with LSU. So 5 total.
Jeez. Well, I mean LSU, they're just okay. I think
Just okay. LSU is really good this
they
year.
lost to Bama, which
So
is
Bama
obviously
lost to
great.
Texas.
Yeah, I mean, so they've
I mean,
beaten teams that are decent, but there's no one they've beaten. They haven't beaten Michigan. They haven't beat Alabama. They haven't beaten Washington. They haven't beaten
well, that's
Oregon.
because they didn't play them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they won all their games. So like, but honestly, there's no good argument why they shouldn't have been in it. Like, they should have just added a fifth team in there just for the hell of it, and gave the first round bye to the 1 seed.
It's not how
I
that's
know,
not how
but
it
they
works.
should do that. Though. Like, it's ridiculous. Like 4 teams. Yeah, the undefeated team didn't make it. I'm like, let's see if the fifth team can make it. So because they're undefeated, like just do it for this year only. Like I feel like that was messed up because those guys played their butts off. Still, their defense for Florida State is legit. They don't give up more than like 20 points a game. I think they've only done it once this year, and it was
No,
against it was a couple times, maybe 1 or 2 times, but like not very many times. It was
20 point
LSU, and I think it was
Clemson, Boston College. Um, you
well,
said 24 or 20?
I said 24.
Uh, yeah, because they had 2 more games of 20. It's
So,
Miami and Duke that
but
had
yeah, so
20.
like they really hold the teams down to a clutch. Like they have a great defense,
They have a great defense.
but
They
their
do.
offense obviously isn't as good without the quarterback. But their defense can carry the show. Like they could sack anyone. They could stop anybody that throws all those weapons out. But obviously, the committee is probably worried about them facing Michigan and getting destroyed
Oh,
on national TV. I think
look.
that's what their main concern was because Michigan is elite. So like that wouldn't be a good look for them. I guess is what they're thinking probably. What do you think, Gia?
So, what I was gonna say is, and I was looking this up right now. Well, I can't find it. I know he said it. He said it somewhere. I forgot what comment it was. But so look, and my point on this, I see both sides. I understand both sides, and start off the side of defending why Florida State should have made it. Florida State should have made it. I was gonna use what Robert Griffin III said. He wrote it in a comment. I just realized he wrote it in a comment on one of the posts. I don't remember what the post was. Obviously, it's finding out that they didn't make it, but which post it was. And he pointed out very closely, and like you're pointing out on their defense, how their defense has been amazing, how their team has been able to score tremendously. And their one struggle was to score offensively was against Louisville with the third string quarterback. Not the second string, the third string, who's a freshman. He hasn't been getting a lot of playing time. So now you're looking at this. Jordan Travis out, right? Gone for gone for the season. Well, actually gone forever. He's leaving.
He's
Done.
getting
He's
drafted.
leaving Florida State. You have your backup quarterback who got hurt the previous game before the Louisville game. It was the game against Florida, right? In which the third string came in, the rookie came in, finished out the game, and then you have the Louisville championship game, which they won. They still won. Yes, it was a low scoring game, one touchdown, still won. They fit all the criteria needed, right? They got the championship of their conference, undefeated, beaten 4 positive record teams in the division, 5 with the one of LSU, and they played 2 SEC teams. They did everything else, and what is needed to make the character. You need the conference championships, strength of schedule, head-to-head results, and head-to-head results, and head-to-head against common opponents. Right, pretty much won it all. Bama also played LSU. Bama won against LSU, right? So looking into that and all these other things. Florida State pretty much did everything right to be in the college football playoffs. To at least get the 4th seed. You could argue 3rd because they're undefeated. And all to blame for this, this is all to blame for this, Cincinnati and TCU.
Yeah.
They're the ones to blame for this. Because the way that they had the lackluster, the poor performances in the college football playoffs, in which the committee allowed them to go because they were undefeated, except for TCU, they lost in the Big 12 championship game. Still allowed to go because they were like, you know what? But they are the better team. They went in. They went over Bama and USC because USC lost, and Bama, even though Bama won, I mean Bama didn't even get to the SEC championship, so they allowed TCU to go in there. All right. We saw what happened. They made it to the championship game. Don't get me wrong. They were able to beat Michigan. Cincinnati, terrible. The way they played in the playoffs, it was like almost, why did you put them there? So now looking at this, and we see the mistake that, well, not a mistake, when UCF didn't go, University of Central Florida, undefeated, but because I believe they weren't powerhouse, they weren't really being looked at to put in. So there was a lot of upward. That allowed Cincinnati and TCU to pretty much make it. But because of their poor performance, now committee does not want to have a bad performance for Florida State. Because to the committee, and they made it very clear that Jordan Travis being hurt was the reason why they didn't make it. Because to them, it is all entertainment. That's pretty much what everything is. Bring in the money for the entertainment. And what brings in more money?
More offense.
Michigan versus Alabama or Michigan versus Florida State?
Yeah, so you want more offense from the two teams. You don't want just like, oh, it's going to be 20 to like 10 or whatever, or like Michigan beats them 20-10.
So what they looked at was the Florida State offense is not going to score as much, especially not on this Michigan defense. And we're going to see the Michigan defense play a good game against the Florida the Michigan offense play a good game against Florida defense. So the only action of this game was going to be when Michigan's on offense. That was gonna be the only action of the game. That's
Yeah.
pretty much what they were seeing. So when you look at Florida State, and this is Florida State's point, it's not just one player. The team is not just Jordan Travis. The team is all of them. The defense has been phenomenal, like you said. The offense, Coleman has been a great wide receiver. Coleman's been one of the great. I think he's like a late first round pick, in my opinion, or maybe even second round pick. He's been very good. So then Florida has these other players that they're right. It's more than just Jordan Travis. Yes, he is their wow factor. Yes, he is the star. He's the entertainer. But they've earned their spot. They've literally earned it. There's no reason why they shouldn't have made it other than the entertainment. And the worst part is that I think the committee originally only wanted Alabama or Texas to make it. But because of the head to heads, you have Texas beating Alabama and both of them winning the SEC, meaning Georgia had to win it. In order for Florida State to make it, Georgia had to win it, and it didn't. Alabama won. That head to head was literally the thought process was probably
They wanted a revenge game. They want
no,
Alabama
no.
to
The
beat
thought process
Texas.
was you can't have Alabama in the playoffs and not have Texas in there when Texas beat them.
I think it's
That was the
both.
process. But that was the thought process. It was you if you have Alabama because I think they really wanted Alabama in it, you had to have Texas. And they were okay with taking out Florida State and then be like, hey, we're gonna give you the fifth seed and this and that. It's not cool. But now on the other side, like I said, I see both sides. I understand the entertainment aspect of it because yes, as a viewer, it's gonna be crazy seeing Alabama and Michigan. It's gonna be beyond crazy about it. And then seeing Texas versus Washington, that's gonna be a great game. It was gonna be Washington versus Alabama. Either one would have been a great game because of how Washington has been playing. The defense isn't as strong and throughout the season. The defense has gotten a little weak. The offense is still the same, especially with Michael Penix. And this Texas offense, to me, it's more well-rounded on the defensive and offensive side. Quinn Ewers leading them and the defense being solid enough, but they did allow Oklahoma to score. Oklahoma State scored 21 points. They lost to Oklahoma, right? That was their one loss of the season. But the thing about it is just it's all revenue and entertainment. And I wish the committee would have said that's more important than actually what you do, and you wouldn't have this uproar. Because of the bylaws, like we read, you need to have the champion. There are football bylaws, and they made a decision off of entertainment. That was the end of it because Florida State got the same things as Texas and Alabama, same things, and they did it off of the entertainment. So because of that, you know, it's hard to see. I think at the end of it, just to do what's right because I'm a person that thinks undefeated teams should make it. Florida State should have made it because I believe in that, but I understand why they did it.
Yeah, it's for a money factor. They wanted to make more money, more
Yeah,
viewers, more ratings, better ratings. But
but
yeah,
again, blame TCU, blame Cincinnati.
that's pretty much the gist of it, man. Like Florida State just got snubbed and they're screwed. I think it's just gonna be a long off season for them. That's all. But yeah, man.
Apparently, the governor of Florida wants to parti- uh, partition the committee's decision, try to get them to change it.
Like I said, add a fifth team in there. That'll make everything go better.
Yeah.
There won't be any heated exchange. No, I don't think anyone would be upset about a fifth team
Well,
and
next
then
year it's
having
12.
a
It's 12
bye.
teams. Next year it's 12 teams, so
Well, yeah, I mean,
we're
but I'm
getting
just
full
saying
playoffs.
next year it'll be fun. It'll be like a NCAA tournament style basketball.
Yeah,
But yeah, man.
12 will be fun. But so playoff games, the two Washington, Texas, Sugar Bowl. I think it's in Texas.
Oh, Washington,
Or
Texas. I think yeah, but
yeah,
I think it's a Cotton Bowl, right? With their Dallas
no, it's the
plays.
Sugar Bowl. Oh, I just know they're in the Sugar Bowl right here, real quick. Uh,
I know the Rose
Sugar
Bowl
Bowl.
is Michigan, Alabama.
Yeah, Michigan, Alabama here in LA. So that's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy here.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's so many you know, interesting bowls that we got. Oregon State versus Notre Dame in the Sun Bowl. That's gonna be something. Penn State versus Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl. Georgia, Florida State in the Orange Bowl. Oregon versus Liberty in the Fiesta Bowl. LSU, Wisconsin in the Realquest Bowl. Um, yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of other ones. Arizona, Oklahoma in the Alamo Bowl. That's gonna be a pretty good
And then
one,
you
in my
got
opinion.
Georgia, Florida State, obviously later on.
Yeah, that's what I just said. You
Oh,
got
yeah,
Louisville versus USC in the Holiday Bowl
USC will get
on
clapped.
December 27th. UCLA, Boise State here at the SoFi for the LA Bowl, December 16th. Um, but yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah, man. Do you have any more thoughts on the show today or on the cast?
Um, mm, uh, no, not that I could remember.
No.
No, not that I could remember.
Hopefully, David will join us next week on our next endeavors. Maybe we'll talk about some more basketball next week, and yeah, I think we'll get back with that. Like football, we'll have football and basketball on for next week's show, and maybe a little bit of baseball. Throw a little flair of baseball in there for free agency. Maybe Otani might sign somewhere. We'll see. But yeah,
Blue
we'll see you
Jays have
guys
been good.
next week. Thanks for joining us here on Sideline Thoughts. Bye, guys.
Say, guys.